decided to be a little creative for dinner tonight, and I'm going to try to do some like pan-fried pork chops with pork rinds instead of breadcrumbs, and then using my low-carb flour blend that I'm working on as my flour. So we shall see how that turns out. Let's start off by setting this up so it's out of my way. And this food processor is older than me. I can 100% promise that, but it works, so we just use it. Would be nice to have a new one, but I don't know if I could bring myself to get rid of it because it's kind of a family heirloom. Let's open our seasonings before we get into these pork chops. I like to use the little plastic bag in the store as kind of like a barrier because y'all know I got the OCD real bad, and I don't want to be sanitizing the whole kitchen because I've convinced myself that there's like pork bits on the counters. And yes, I will wash my hands like 12,000 times while I make dinner. And it is one of the reasons that they are so scaly. Just going to spread these out a little bit so I can get them all seasoned up. And wash my hands. Yes, I know it's a lot of seasonings. I'm just using smoked paprika and garlic powder. But that's how I like it. I'll sacrifice my left hand here. Pat it all in. And give them a flip. And then do the other side. Pat that in. And then we're just going to let these set. Just move them to the side. And let them hang out with the seasoning while we get everything else ready. And they will also warm up a little bit. That way I'm not frying like super cold, fresh out of the fridge meat. Because I don't think that really works out great. But I also don't want them to be like warm because that just breeds disaster. Ugh. Alright, so I'm just going to slide these down here out of the way. We'll put these seasonings up. Oh, it's an egg. That's not a lid. Alright, so we're going to have one plate of flour and egg wash, and then our breadcrumbs, which in this case will be pork rinds. Really don't know how much I'm going to need. So we're just going to take a guess and hope for the best. Then egg. And to our egg, we're going to add just a little bit of heavy cream. And we need to make our pork rinds into breadcrumbs. And I'm really not sure how this is going to work out, but we're going to try our best. I'm just using plain, original, whatever you want to call them. And I considered using, well, that was exciting. I considered using my coffee grinder, an old, not coffee grinder, spice grinder, but it would just seem too small, so this looks like it's going to work. It's not quite getting all the chunks. And I think we're going to probably need more than that. These things are very salty, so that's why I did not add any seasonings with salt to our pork chops. All right. We're going to say that's good enough. Hopefully it will be enough. If not, somebody's just going to have a non-pork rind crusted pork chop. I guess instead of a chicken fried pork chop, it's a pork fried pork chop. These are like way more greasy than I was expecting them to be. Expecting it to be more dry, but it's definitely not. There's still some big chunks on there. Now I'm going to give this a rinse out because I'm going to make some mashed cauliflower as well. Now I need to get my pan going here. I'm just going to use avocado oil to fry it up with. I found a restaurant supply store so I can get a good deal on avocado oil. It's like a big jug for $17 as opposed to like I think it was $10 on sale for a bottle about this size. So that's probably enough to pan fry up some pork chops. We can add more if we need it. I'm just going to set it to medium heat and let it come up to temperature. I apologize if the angles keep changing. I have to move the camera around so y'all can see what I am doing. I'm just going to mix up my egg and cream here. All right, and I've grabbed the plate to put our breaded pork chops on. I want to put some Parmesan cheese in there as well. I'm not really sure which step to put it in though. I'm going to guess in the flour because that makes the most sense. Because I feel like if it's mixed in with the pork rinds, it's probably going to get burned. And one of the challenges of having to switch to cooking low carb is that like I'm burning everything now. I'm just so used to working with different ingredients. It's become extra challenging. All right, we're just going to pour some in. Break up all those little bits and get it mixed in with the flour. Once I figure out the flour blend, I will share that with y'all. I've been trying different blends from different YouTubers and blogs and stuff, and then kind of playing around with it to figure out blends that are more accessible for me, because a lot of the ingredients that people are using I just don't have access to. They're either crazy expensive or they're always sold out and I can't just get them. So there has to be options that, you know, regular people have easier access to. I'm going to add a little bit more cream to that. All right, and oh, I thought that was a big chunk, but it's not. All right, let's see how this is going to work out. Really not sure if any of the cheese is getting on there. Guess we'll see if it tastes like it's got some cheese on it. I'm not sold on the pork rind breadcrumbs. It might just be breaded and flour and then flour. This just seems like it's gonna burn and be a hot mess. and also expensive because, like, if you've got to use a whole bag of pork rinds to make breadcrumbs, that's just too much. Yes, I'm gonna get goopy fingers, but it's okay. I'm not too concerned. I'll speed this up so y'all don't have to watch me bread all these pork chops. You get the idea. Alright, well that was only enough pork rinds to do 3, so these last 2 will just be breaded, and then breaded again. Well, I have inadvertently created an experiment here because we've got 2 that are just breaded with flour, and then 3 that are breaded with pork rinds. So I think it'll give us a good chance to try both ways and see which one we like better. And if we like the pork rinds better, then I guess I will have to reserve an entire bag of pork rinds for if I want to do this again. So I'm going to clean up this area, wash my hands, and then we will switch over to frying them. In addition to our fried pork chops, we are going to have some of these seasoned lima beans. Everybody in the family loves these. They're not the healthiest, but they are delicious, and anything to get the kids to eat their veggies. So I'm just gonna warm up 2 cans of these in a pot. Now, if I can get it opened. Oh. I don't want to give up any more counter space because we've got so many appliances and stuff on the counter, so I just use a basic can opener. And some days, like today, it's a challenge. But I can just give it a wash up and stick it in a drawer, and I don't have to see it until the next time that I need it. Put a lid on that to get them warmed up. And we're also going to have some mashed cauliflower, which I love. Before we had to go low carb, I've always loved mashed cauliflower, so I just picked up one of these bags, just a 12-ounce Walmart brand. It's the cheapest, like 98 cents or something. They might be $1 something, but they're cheaper than having to buy a whole head of cauliflower and then cut off the florets and all of that. It's not worth the effort. I'll just buy frozen. So I'm just going to pop this in the microwave. I'm real technical with how I check temperatures. I think that's a bit too high. We'll turn it down a little bit. And we will use this time to cut a piece of cheesecloth for our cauliflower because we want to drain off the water. My hands are so dry, my cuticles are dry, it's sticking to me. Alright, now it fits properly into our bowl. We're just going to set that aside until we need it. Don't laugh at this pan, y'all. I never use it for actual cooking. It's extremely old. I think it came with the toaster oven or an old toaster oven, but it will work for the purpose of putting our fried pork chops on. I try to use the outside portion of this pan because the center gets the hottest and things in there normally burn. I'm going to put this in the sink and wash my hands up again. We will turn the temperature up just a smidge here. Since we had to put our pork chops in there, it'll make the temperature drop. While our pork chops are frying away over there, we can work on mashing our cauliflower. So the rice cauliflower is easier to get all the water out, but you got to do it with the florets as well. And this is why I did not cook it super hot, because I didn't want to wait forever for it to cool down so that I could squeeze the water out. All right, that is good enough. We're gonna put it in our little food processor here. Make sure we get all of it out. Don't want to waste any. Right. I'm just gonna spread it around. And I have some soy milk here so that I can add a little moisture, just a little bit. But it tastes better than cauliflower frozen wetness. Gross. And then I'm just going to dump the liquid out of this bowl and reuse that so I don't have to wash extra dishes. I don't foresee my kids eating this, which is why I did not make multiple bags. All right, then I can pop this in the microwave with some butter to warm it up, and that will be our taters. Switching gears back to our pork chops over here. We are ready for a flip. I have to say the pork rind breading is staying on way better than I thought it would. And this flour blend is frying up nicely. Looks like regular old flour. So I'm going to wash these off since they did touch the uncooked side, and then we can use them to get it out as well. How our beans are doing. They are simmering away nicely. Let's give them a stir. Alright, let's switch back to our mashed cauliflower again. My side of the stove isn't hot, so I'm not worried about that. Let's get some butter in here. I'm just going to put a few pads of butter in here and then microwave it up. Yes, lots of butter because that is flavor. The kids have come back for dinner, so y'all may hear them in the living room on the other side of this wall. I must say, I am quite pleased with how this is cooking up. Alright, well, knock some breading off of that. Trying to rotate them around without destroying them. Because like I said, the center gets a bit hotter, but I don't want to halt the cooking process by turning it down because everything else is almost done. The kids just asked why we were having mashed cauliflower instead of mashed potatoes, so I'm going to need to fix some mashed potatoes for them. Just some instant box potatoes. Alright. We're gonna set this aside, and I'm gonna put the kettle on so I can make some potatoes for the kids. For dishes' sake, I'm just gonna transfer the cauliflower into the smaller bowl, and then I'll use the big bowl for the mashed taters. Those pork chops are almost done. Let's get some taters going for the kids. I'm not being careful and knocking the breading off. Alright, so I gave them another flip, so they'll be equally colored up on both sides. And pork chops are done. We're going to move them over to the rack so that they can drain. And the vultures are already circling the kitchen, aka my husband, trying to come and steal some snacks. Oh, that breading did not hold up very well. Let's see if we can get that on top so we don't lose it. Here we go. All right, everything is turned off. We're ready to eat. Come back and update with the verdict on the pork chops. If one was better than the other, if the pork rind breadcrumb thing is worth the effort. Based on just what I see from the breading, it looks like it is, because the ones with the pork rinds are all still properly breaded, and the two that were just breaded with the flour are having some difficulties. So I will be back to update after everyone has their dinner. Here's my plate. It's not the most pretty meal, but I'm sure it tastes good. It's the end of the night. I forgot to update y'all, but the pork chops were a big hit. Everyone liked them. Of course, the kids preferred the flour battered ones, and we liked the pork rind battered ones. So it was a success. We would definitely do that again. The only complaint was that the pork rinds were a bit more greasy, so I might try a different brand, or like leave them to dry, like open the bag and leave them to kind of air out for a day before I try to make pork rind breadcrumbs with them again.